Hey everyone, I'm Lisa Baudouin. Welcome to Lisa's chat room. Today it is March 11th, 2023, and in this video I'm actually going to be sharing with you some tips and tricks when it comes to computers, but also the target is basically to share the new program I'm using, which is called LibreOffice Suite, and how to create a journal when you're doing a LibreOffice Suite, kind of get it up and running. And it's going to help a little bit when you're journaling and whatever, especially it's called LibreOffice Calc. But I'm also going to talk about Writer too in this video. But I have to disclose here, I'm not an expert in anything I share with you, if you try it, use it, or buy it, you do so at your own risk and peril. Also too, I'm not affiliated, endorsed, or reimbursed by any company or product that I talk about in my videos. Finally, if you get something from this video, please give it a like, subscribe, share with friends and family, and drop that comment below, because I do vet and read every single one of them. Okay, so this is actually on my phone. I'm actually got a little under the weather. I've been pretty sick this whole week. I'm a little bit better, but I have some sniffles, so pardon me for that. And while I'm doing this, what I'm doing right now is I'm going through all my computers. I have quite a few computers that are older, and I'm cleaning them up. And some of them I'm going to use for my grandkids. Some of them I might sell. Some of them I might just give to family. It's not really worth it to sell these things, to be honest. They're just too past, really, as far as being monetary, but they still are nice to use, especially when it comes to the kids, the grandkids, whatnot. And so I'm going through all my old computers, and then I'm also installing LibreOffice on them. I'm removing all the stuff that I don't want on here and just putting on some stuff for them. So anyway, I'm going through, and one of the things I always share with you when you're going to do any kind of stuff with your computer is to have one of these. This is your computer information, and that's where you should have all your information about your computer. Here is this information about this computer. I've had this computer at least since 2021, and I know enough about it. I know that it's 64-bit. I know that it doesn't have much RAM, and the sad part of this is RAM is the, basically I call it the workable memory. RAM is basically the storing memory. So RAM, the workable memory, it's only 4 GB, and that's not enough nowadays with a lot of the programs that we have. I also know that it's a 64-bit, so I know what kind of programs I'm going to be able to use. It's based on that processor and how it separates things. There's usually 32 and 64, and there's more, but those are the ones we see all the time. And I keep this information, and I always keep information about, like, if I've had an issue or whatever. For this particular computer, laptop, the screen had been cracked, so I replaced the screen. And to be honest, it was a touch screen, and it was supposed to be a touch screen that I ordered, but they didn't give me the touch screen, and I didn't even think about it until now, because I never used it. I just thought maybe the kids might want to use it for that. It does have a touchpad, which I've disengaged, and I'll show you that in a minute, but it has a touchpad. And I also have this handy dandy little pen, and I even have a plug-in touchpad with a pen for when I am doing things on it. So, all right. Okay, so my phone needed to be plugged in. All right, so I'm going to try to walk you through a little bit of the computer 101 that I have. Now, this is a Windows 10. This is an older computer. It's a Windows 10 platform. I don't think it can upgrade to Windows 11. And so, of course, there's going to be some glitches and some issues with that, because now the newer programs are coming out where they're adapted to the Windows 11. So what I've done with this computer is I've literally taken every single thing I can off of it, all the programs that are not needed, so that it runs faster. I've gone into certain things, like I've gone into the taskbar. If I right-click on the taskbar and I go into the settings, what I can do is I can go into here, taskbar down here, and I can come down here and I can say which icons, where is it here? Hold on. Select which icons appear at the taskbar. So here I can select which ones are on and off, and I've selected these 3 only. Everything else is pretty much off, and actually I've deleted a lot of the programs off here that are unnecessary. Now, there's lots of videos to go out there to learn how to use this taskbar more. For Windows 10, it was great because you could actually have this taskbar wherever you wanted. You just right click on it, unlock it, and you could move it anywhere. And for me, I love having it here. Windows 11, that doesn't happen, at least not yet. They say this is the way they wanted it, but I think it's just a glitch. But I have downloaded a program on my new computer that I can move it over there because I'm just so used to it here, and I just like it here better. I still get that a glitch in it because it doesn't work the same way as Windows 10. Windows 10 is nice. This comes here. If it's Windows 11 and you have your taskbar over there, you'll see this over here. So something I'm going to get used to. And the thing is eventually they're probably going to fix that. You know, that issue with you. They'll be able to move eventually. You'll probably be able to move this around. So anyway, point is sometimes, first of all, I don't have the touch screen anymore, but I do have the touchpad. So what I've done is there's different ways of doing this touchpad. The first one is FN, and then right here, there's this little on my F5 key. But this, for some reason, doesn't work that great for me. So the other ways of doing this is actually to know that you can go into your settings. Oops, sorry. And again, this is impromptu, so, and I'm not used to the keys on this keyboard because I haven't used it in forever. But I go into Bluetooth, printers, and mouse. I go down to my touchpad over here. Then I go up over here. Now, a lot of times what you'll see is they'll say there's a toggle here on and off. Well, that's not the case anymore, even in the 10. You got to come over here to the additional settings and you click on there. Now for me, my touchpad is here, and you may get glitches in your touchpad. And if that's the case, you know, the one computer, it just was gone. I'm like, where is it? So I had to download a new device driver for it. And that's a lot of work. It depends upon the computer you have. You have to do some digging. And when you download a driver is basically when you go and you right click on your start menu and you go to your device manager, and you know, there's all these different places to go, right? But over here in your device manager, this shows you all the drivers basically you have and your whole setup on your computer. And here, when you go into human interfaces, see, it doesn't show up like it used to. It used to say touchpad, but it doesn't do that anymore. So there's that, and then also too, I think it's under mice. See here, that shows up this way, Synaptics PS2. Now this is an old computer though. So I actually would suggest that you take and you figure out a way to save this onto an external drive. And actually I save all my data on external drives. I do not use the hard drive of any computer because I've had computers die and then I'm lost. So if anything, make sure that you are saving onto an external drive of some type, and even a DVD, because I do save on DVDs. When you're using external drives, what's going to happen is they're going to wear out too, and so are DVDs. But when I put it on a DVD, I don't usually take it off. I leave it there and I don't do anything with it unless I need it. It's my backup. So you just have to learn how to go into your computer and find this driver, or at least find the download for it, and click that and save that onto an external drive and of some type, or USB stick or whatever. Usually your downloads for drivers and whatnot are in the download folder. So what I did there was I clicked at my File Explorer, and I'm going to show you how to put these on your Start menu too, by the way, today. So click on your File Explorer, go to Downloads over here, and this is where usually your downloads will be. So I always save the new ones that are working. So I'll save this, and this is basically it's compressed. So I'll save it as a compressed file, and then when I have to use it, I'll put it onto my computer. I'll right click, and then I'll press Extract All. It'll go into a folder exactly like this, but it won't have a zipper on it, right? So there are other ways that you can find out more. Just go do searching. Now with the AI and everything, it's amazing what you can search for. But part of the problem is a lot of the stuff that we're seeing from, like when I go look for help files, it's like it's outdated already. And some of them will help me and some of them won't. It'll be, what do I do now? So, but that's what I would do. I would save your drivers onto a drive, an external drive, just in case something happens and you can't find them on the internet or whatever the deal is. So anyway, here to shut this, toggle this on and off, I go over to this tab and I just press enable or disable. Right? Now that I've pressed enable, I can move that around with my finger. Now I also have this, and this is, you can pick these up pretty inexpensive. They're not connected to anything, but it's a special device, and actually you can make your own, and I tried, and it is a pain in the butt. It's just worth the money. I think it's like $10 for 5 of these or something. And what you do is you just move this around. Now when you have a paint program, one of the things you can do, and I don't want to pull one up, but this, if you double click this is almost the same as holding this down. Like when the kids want to play on their paint programs, I taught them, you just double click and then you just go like this, and then it'll do the drawing and whatnot. All right, so that's what this is for. Or you can buy your own new touchpad and hook it up, and that actually has a separate pen to it, which I'll talk about that in another video. So, but this is the way to do it. Go to the additional settings, or if you noticed in my taskbar, I have it here. And how I have it there is by going to the settings, by going to those apps, and then I just have it there on this one right here. So then what happens is, instead of going through all that, getting to the settings and the Bluetooth and all that stuff, I can click right here, double click right there, and there it is. And I can go in and I can disable it from there. And what'll happen is over here, you can't see it too well, but there's an X, which means the touchpad is now disabled. So I really like that, being able to just turn it on and off right here, because sometimes I want to use that writing tool and sometimes I don't. All right, sometimes I want to use touchpad and sometimes I don't. All right, so next part is the start menu. Now most people, again, they have it down over here. I personally prefer it right here. And I'm going to lock it in place. And again, there are some programs that you can go and you can look at to put it on the right hand side. Now, part of the fear of that for me is that I don't want to recommend anything because I don't know what's being downloaded onto your computer along with that program. You got to be very, very careful. I see a lot of things. I hear a lot of things. I try to do as minimal as I can when it comes to adding programs. And sometimes the computer with the upgrades and whatnot, it'll do certain things too. Like I have clicked off all the notifications and everything like that. If I go to Control Alt and delete these keys, I can pull up my task manager. And my task manager is where I can see what's going on my computer. So one of the things I'm doing is I'm switching out of, first of all, I'm switching out of Microsoft Office Suite, and which I'll talk about in a minute. I'm switching that first. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm slowly going to be getting out of Windows. And I want to move to a different platform altogether. One of the things I don't like about Microsoft Office is they have their own browser system, which is Microsoft Edge, and I don't care for it. Every time I've used it, it's very buggy, it's a pain, and it seems to constantly run in the background, and it's kind of webbed together into the computer, so I can't take it off. I do use Chrome, and I have set all my Chrome settings so that most of the time it'll pop up, but that's why I have it on here, which I'm going to talk about this in a minute. But here, these are all the programs that are running. So one of the things I do too is once I've removed all the programs that are not needed, I come in here and I just look to see first what is running. But I jump over here to start up. And you can see there's hardly anything on my computer now. The only thing I have enabled here for my startup to run when it starts is this thermal framework. Everything else is disabled. The notifications is disabled. That doesn't mean the security is disabled. It just means the notifications for it is disabled, as far as I know. So anyway, point is this phone link, it used to come up all the time. And what happens is it runs in the background and it bogs down my computer. And where I can see it is in the Processes tab, right here. So what I usually do when I turn on my computer is I go through, I don't usually touch anything here except for Microsoft Edge. I do right click and end the task. You can't delete it, and I wouldn't delete it anyway. Again, it's integrated into the system. But these are all the things that are going on my computer. I'm going to leave them all alone. Once in a while, I'll go and look and see, well, what is this? What is this? You know, I'll just go and look and see. But as long as it's, you know, it's needed for the computer to run. But oftentimes things will get bogged down. And even like Google Chrome, if you're on Google Chrome and you close it, sometimes it'll be here. Now you can end it here, and also too you can go onto Google Chrome, and in the settings you can actually disable it where it will stop running. It actually says, do you want it to continue to run in the background even if you've shut down the browser? Well, I want it to shut down everywhere, so I go in my settings, which was right over here, and these are constantly changing. So your settings, trying to see where it is, right down here. See that? Right down there. All right. So you can go in there and you can explore that. And I would definitely explore all your programs to make sure that the notifications aren't popping up, because especially on older computers, because you don't have enough RAM, which is the random access memory. It's the workable memory. In other words, it's working behind the scenes, keeping all your stuff open and stuff like that. The ROM is your hard drive memory. So for this computer here, here's my, hold on a second, I don't know where I put it. No, I stuck it over here. Okay, so for this computer, again, too, make sure that you have one of these, okay? Computer binder. Make sure that you do some homework, learn how computers work, you know, underneath, just the guts of it. Take like a little online tutorial of how a computer works, the processor, motherboard, things like that. You don't have to know all of it, but some of it. I think it's a good idea. And also to RAM and ROM, and sometimes you can expand the RAM and the ROM. On this particular one, which is a satellite, which is Toshiba satellite L15W-B1302, I cannot. Some people say you can, but I'm not. For one, I'm not going to. It's a very old computer. But part of the problem with this computer is really not much RAM or ROM. The ROM, I think, is 500 gigs. So it's very, very small. Very, very small compared to what you need to run the programs of today. So one of the things when you're going to look for computers, make sure that you have really strong RAM and ROM, especially the RAM. The RAM is more important. You can buy the external drives, and again, that's what I suggest you do. The RAM is what you really need because you want to be able to run these programs streamlined. And you want to make sure that you can upgrade them. You can add more RAM. You can, you know, they're called cards and they go in the back, and some are soldered in. Like this one is just completely soldered in. I can't remove it. But some actually are soldered in partially, but they also have a slot where you can add more. And the more, the better, which we'll see in just a minute here. And then what I do here is if you go into your, you right click on your, this is your start, and it looks like a Windows. If you go in there and you type System Information, what will happen is you will see all the information basically about your computer. So here I've got the Windows 10 Home on here, and I've got all this information here, but I also have some here, and I usually print this all out too, and I save it in my binder. And so I understand that this is a 64 base PC. It's also 64-bit. I got that from my system Windows specs. And then Right down here, I've got my RAM is 4 and my virtual memory is about, well, it says 4.8, but it's usually, it's around 3. There's not much because everything's being used up. Okay, any program I have here is being used up too. You know, the memory is being held in there, as far as I know. Again, I'm not an expert, but this is what I'm pretty sure. So anyway, point is I take all the programs off that I can possibly take off. You don't need all that junk. You don't want all that junk on there. Then you have more reserves for the programs that you're going to use. Right? So that's where that is. And now here, looking at the processes, I can see what happened. Over here, I can go into the performance. This is the task manager, by the way. That was, this is the CPUs. This is how much energy is being used by the CPU. So you can kind of see what's going on here. Memory, okay, we already just talked about the memory. I don't really have much memory left now that I have programs on there. I have 2 gigabytes of memory available. Disk, this is my disk, and actually I don't look at this too much. I believe this is my C drive. This is the capacity that it has. The hard drive, it's 466 gigabytes. That's the memory, kind of. That's the storage of memory. And then Wi-Fi, which I don't really look at the Wi-Fi too much. It just tells you how much is going in, how much is going out. It is important to understand it, but I don't really care about it until something happens. And usually that's what I do now. I get a basic understanding of something, and then if something happens, then I do a deep dive and try to figure things out. All right, so this is app history. You can look at the history if you want to. You could even delete it because it's really not needed. Let's just do that. Delete. See if it works. It's not working, so I'll do that at another time. Users, details, and services. Okay, so there's all kinds of stuff going on. You've got all these, you've got registration, you've got system information, and you've got settings. Most of the time you're going to be in the settings information, and you're going to be in the taskbar, and then you're going to be in this start menu. So the start menu, I have it set up where all my programs are sitting right here. Now this is actually what you call the taskbar, or sorry, I'm getting, hold on a second here. Okay, let me just walk you through it here. So I'm going to just click the start. I'm going to type Chrome. So that's the app that's coming up. I'm going to right click on here. I can unpin from the start, and I can unpin from the taskbar. So this is the start. It's going to come up right here. On Windows 11, it's going to be over here, even if you move your taskbar, at least for now, as far as I know. The taskbar, I put it here. And the reason I did that, I don't put too much here, but I put those here because I am constantly clicking on this and unclicking. So it is running on my taskbar. Okay, and then I have it in my start here. So here I have certain things that I want to look at that I'm constantly clicking on. And actually you can put files in here. I used to have to do that the long way. Now it's pretty simple to do if you want to put a actual, like I would put a database file program in here, you know, something I made myself. So, but how you can do this is you just right click on anything, and then you unpin or pin to start. Okay, and then the nice thing about this is you can move these all around and put them in the order that you really like. So one of the things I see missing here is my snip tool. I love, and look at, I misspelled it, it still figured out what I wanted. I like to have my snip tool there, so I'm going to pin it to my start. Now I'm going to go in here, and there it is. And I'm going to bring that one, I'm going to put it over here because I'm constantly clicking on that too. So this is nice because you can put anything you use constantly here. All right, so now that I've kind of covered all that, and I'm not covering everything, there's a lot to talk about, and because we have such a great internet, I mean, there's good things about the internet and there's bad things about the internet, but what I love about the internet is I can pretty much ask any question and I'm going to get an answer. The problem is sometimes the answer is wrong, or sometimes it's coming from people that are basically talking out of their ear, okay? They don't know what they're talking about. Like, I was watching, I mean, now it's been at least twice in the past year, I've listened to people that are so-called experts, actually 3 times, where they're experts, but they're wrong about the medical. There's some medical things that they talk about, and they're completely wrong. And then at the end of the video, you find out, they're like, well, buy this, I use this, and there's a link below. It's an advertisement. Basically, what they're doing is advertising. I am not advertising to you. I am sharing. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to share information. So always know someone's agenda when you're watching a video. What are they trying to do? When you're downloading something, is the agenda to give you that program, or maybe they're piggybacking something on the back of that program? Always do a custom download and check to see what else is going to be going on your computer prior to doing any kind of downloads. All right. So now number 2, my agenda is to move away from Microsoft Office Suite first, and then eventually to get out of Windows and buy a Linux based or some other type of based computer, which I have always used Microsoft. I have been using Microsoft since 1995, using their Office suite, the professional one. I've created databases, Excel spreadsheets. I would say I'm somewhere between intermediate on most things, and then expert on some things, and really a novice on other things, because I only use what I need to, and I don't really hold on to what I don't. If I want to know something, I just go look. That's how my brain works. It's like I don't hold anything. It's kind of like a phone book in a way, the computer to me. If I want something, I look up the resource and find it. And so anyway, what I did was I actually purged Microsoft Office Suite off of here. And I'm now moving over to LibreOffice Suite right here. And so you need to do your homework. There are plenty of Office suites out there that you can research to find out what's best for you. But to me, at least at this point in 2026, I find that the LibreOffice is one of the better Office suites out there. One, it is free. And I'm going to show you the link where you go. But I like that it's, let me do that right now. Here we go. Okay. You need to go to LibreOffice.org, and you can download it. And it tells you which ones that you can download as far as like for your phone or whatever. I just use it on my laptop. So go to download LibreOffice. And if you pan down a little bit, you can see there's an older version. They're holding on to that version, but they're going to let it go. I would assume that this version, and again, I'm assuming here, this is for Windows 10. And this is basically like an upgrade, because I do notice this is a Windows 10 system. Sometimes I'll get like a little hiccup when it comes to using LibreOffice, this one, on my computers that are Windows 10. The Windows 11, it seems to work really, really easily. Now, I don't know. That might just be my computers, but that's my opinion. Now the other part of this is once you download it, what'll happen is you'll download the program. You're going to want to check to see what you're going to use. I'm using 64-bit, remember, 64-bit right here. And then I'm going to download it, and what's going to happen, it's going to show up here. And I can also donate to them. Now this is a free Office suite. You download it, and you can download it on as many computers as you want to. And this is one of the reasons, I have many reasons, but this is one of the reasons I'm moving over to this. Because I am tired of every few years I have to upgrade and pay money. And I have no choice in the matter. And I have to put them on every single computer I have to pay for, unless I get a multi-user. And it seems that they're phasing that out. So I'm really tired of it. And what I like about LibreOffice as well is, first of all, it is free. Now, I would suggest that you donate to them. There's a donate button. This is basically a nonprofit organization as far as I know. But nonprofits might not stay around forever. And this shows that I don't mind paying a little bit, but I can't pay exorbitant fees, especially for every single computer. I personally think that's wrong. And one of the other things I don't like is I'm kind of forced to go to the upgraded versions. I noticed, and again, not an expert about this, but my opinion is I've noticed that especially some of the features, the formulas that were in Microsoft Excel are no longer there. And I'm like, no, they're in the new 365 or the upgrade. You have to upgrade in order to use that version, in order to get those formulas back. And I'm kind of angry about that. If you sold me something in 2015, it should still work. That's my opinion. And a lot of people say, well, that's kind of idealistic, but that's how I feel about it. I bought it. Why do I have to, it should work as long as I use it. If there's upgraded features, okay, fine, I get that. I don't get them, but I should have the features that I had when I bought the dang thing. So that's another part, but there's other reasons too. I think you probably watch the news like I do, and I am done. I am moving out of that. Anyway, point is, I like LibreOffice, and actually I like it quite a bit, especially when it comes to the writer and the Calc, the spreadsheet Calc. It's basically, and we'll talk about that a little bit in a minute. It's basically the same as Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. And honestly, that's the wrong term. It's not the same. It's very similar. All right. So the other thing about it is when you download LibreOffice, you can open up Microsoft Office Suite programs. So that's great too, because like I said, I've been working in it for a long time now. Does it glitch up a little bit? For me, some of the things are different because it's different. It's not the same. But for the most part, I get almost all the data that's in the original Excel or Word sheet. And so we're going to look at that in a minute. But once you download it, what's going to happen is it's probably going to go into your download folder, which I would also recommend that you put your File Explorer here. So again, to put your File Explorer there is to click the Start, type File Explorer, that's this, and this is just your folder for your computer. And then right click and pin it to Start and the taskbar. So you have it there. So what will happen is over to the left here, you have your folders, and I do have a quick access on all my computers. So I have that there, but also too, I have my downloads. And so what I recommend you do is when you download it, like a driver or anything like that, a program, save it on a disk, save it somewhere else, hold on to it so you've got it. But you should also make sure that in your computer binder, you write the programs that you have and the versions, the date you downloaded and the version that you have. So you keep up to date because they will change from time to time. This is a brand new one, but see, you can see this is 2026. This was 2025. And it was probably August 5th that it came out. And this one came out February 1st. And actually, this is exactly how I name my databases and my versions of things. So anyway, point is, download it and put it into, grab it from your download file and open it up. Now, with LibreOffice, you may need to download the new Java. And Java is kind of just, there's programs that actually support and work with your computer. Like drivers to me, a driver, which I don't know if I showed you, when you right click on your start and you go to your device manager, here is your driver, right? Your driver files, most of them. This is actually your device manager. It manages all your devices. And inside here, okay, for instance, here's my little touchpad driver. Now, in some of my newer computers, this is wrong. So it's great that I saved for all my computers. I saved my old driver because sometimes it can glitch up or you might need to have a new download of the driver. But to me, a driver is kind of like the fork, knife, and spoon of the program. It's actually it's based in the computer and it supports the program. And you need to have it in order to use the program. So, or in order to use the software, I should say. And then for supporting programs like Java, they have Java Oracle and Java Downloads here. You can go in there and then you can look up the information. And again, you have to look up the right information of what you need. Pretty much the top one, the new ones are on the top. and then you download those that you need. But one of the things you can do is go out there and look on the internet. Maybe someone has a step-by-step for you so you can figure that out. But you might need Java. I know I did need a new Java update on one of my other computers. Right? So from there, what happens is when I downloaded it, and you go through the process of setting it up, when you click your start, you're going to see LibreOffice. This is what you're going to see. And you can click this one. And what will happen is you're going to see all the Office here. It's a suite. So in other words, Writer document is comparable to Microsoft Word. Calc spreadsheet is comparable to Microsoft Excel. Impress presentation is comparable to Microsoft PowerPoint. Drawing is comparable to, and it's something I never used, I think it's the ink workspace and the whiteboard. I'm not quite sure. And then they've got one that's math formula, and then base database is comparable to Microsoft Access, but it's actually different. And I'll do a whole video on, a couple of videos on that, because I'm learning, and I'm still learning. So if I stumble a little bit, pardon me, because I'm learning about this. But one of the ways you can do is you can either go to your start and type LibreOffice and click it, or add it to your start menu, which is what I did. But also too, you could add the programs that you're going to use all the time. And I use Writer and Calc all the time. The other ones, I really don't. So when I click on my start, I have them right here. And you can move these around. So once you put them in your start menu, just move them to where you like them the best. And then you can open them up that way, right? So I'm going to open up Writer. Right. So here's what's cool about this. This is the old-fashioned way of the Microsoft Office suite. I used to write, for the Microsoft Access, I used to write code. And code was, menu. They had a menu. And so I wrote code based on menus, items, and whatnot. And then they changed to ribbon. And it was actually a pain for me because I wouldn't say it corrupted, but it influenced, it wouldn't work on some of the things I did, especially like switchboards and whatnot. They wouldn't work anymore. And some of you pros may say, well, you didn't put any error trapping in your code. I did. It's still messed up. It's like, oh my gosh. In other words, some of the old databases that I created, I can't open them anymore like I used to do. I can do a backdoor thing, but I can't open them like with the newer Access. And actually the extension has changed. So I literally have the old, what I did was I kept the old, like I have Microsoft Access 97. And I keep that on an old computer. And so for every one of my older databases, I can open them up because it's using a different file extension than the ones that are used now. So LibreOffice is this kind of same thing. It has different file extensions that will save it as a LibreOffice, or you can actually save it more like a Microsoft. So the writer is mimicking or like the same. I don't like to say it's the same because the thing is when I hand paint roses, there's only so many ways to hand paint a rose. There's only so many ways to create a text program. I remember before Microsoft Office, we had WordPerfect. I don't know if you remember that. But that's what I would use when it first started coming out, And so anyway, but here, if I click File, Save As, I have different kinds of extensions here. And I can save it as if it's a Word document, Microsoft Word, right here, or a text file, which if you weren't going to save it, you can save it however you want. I actually save it as an ODF text document. And not a template, because if you save it as a template, it's kind of like a form. So, and that's a whole nother thing. I don't want to talk about that right now, but if anything, save it as a text file if you don't want to save it as any of these. And actually what you should do is just make up a document, mock document, and save them in each of those formats and see which one is comfortable to you. Personally, I don't mind the ODF text document. And like I said, I'm moving away from Word, so I don't want to save it as that. But the nice thing about it is when I have Word documents, I can open them up with LibreOffice Writer. And the same with the Excel. Now, I haven't played around yet with the Microsoft Access. I'm still just literally learning over how to use these programs. And they're similar to Microsoft Office Suite, but they're different. So this is the writer. So let's just take a look. We've got the menu here, and you actually have a ton of menus. You have so many menus, it's like, wow. So you've got all these little menus that you can look at. You can pull them out, and it's somewhere in here, they're there, okay? But I'm used to looking at, I'm used to looking at tabs. So one of the things I do like is that if I go into here, and this is the menu, this is the main menu, I call it. And these are the menu icons, the menu strips. But if I go in here and I go view, user interface, here I can set up the look of this menu. And remember, in here, this is the canvas and this is the framework. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to click tabbed. I'm just going to apply it to Writer. And now I have my quick menu and I have my tabs. I also have this menu up here, and the reason I have it is because if I click here, I can click it up and down, which I love. So there's a lot of things you can do in here that you couldn't do in Microsoft Word, but there's probably things in here that are really different that you don't have that Microsoft Word does. So it's, you know, they can't make them exactly the same. But basically looking at this, I've got my canvas where I can type. I've got all these little features that I can use. So one of the things I suggest is first you go through all the menu items one at a time and just look at them. Just kind of get familiar with them. And then look at your tabs and come through. They're different than Microsoft Office. They're actually in different order. And then your quick bar is different too. Everything's named slightly different. So familiarize yourself with that, and then come over to this bar here, your sidebar settings. Come on, open up. I've got properties, so I can start to type something and I can change the font. Now if I type something, I wanted to show you this. If I type this, if I double click, I bold one word. If I triple click, I bold the whole thing. So I can change the style, the spacing, and everything. And I love this. And I don't know if Microsoft Word can do this. I never really tried it, but I like this a lot. I'm like, well, this is really cool. You can also do it up here too. There's different, all the features that are here are basically here too. But I like this. It's kind of like a dashboard in a way. That's how I see it. So you got your menu items here, your ribbon items here, kind of like your categories here, and then your dashboard is here. And there's different things that you can click on right here that have to do with this document. So the other thing is styles. And I never was into styles until I started using this, and I really like it. They have collapsible topics as far as naming whatever it is going into your document. So for instance, say this was the header. I'm going to triple click on here. I can come up here and I can go in here. This is basically the same as this, sorta, but it's harder to see, and I don't know. I have tried, usually you could click this and expand it, but it doesn't. So I come down here. So now what I can do is, since that's bolded, I just double click, and now that's the header. And then there's a way to create an expanding and minimizing, and I will talk about that in another video because I really have to go to my other computer to show you that. But you can look it up too. There's some really good internet videos out there telling you how to do it, where you can expand. So in other words, say you write something here, here's your header, and now say you do a second header. Here's header 2. go back. Where the heck is it? Header 2. Okay. Now say you've got this and this is header 2. It's the same, you know, the same level. And then what can happen is you can, what's the word? I can't think. You can expand and you can make them smaller. I can't think of the word, but you can do that. And over here you can create hyperlink indexing. It's really nice. I do like this a lot. And I'm doing some papers on, well, it's a lot. I'm doing HMP, Health Management Program. I'm studying that a lot, and I'll show you in a video. But I can put all my citations in here. I can put all my sources in here, my hyperlinks, and I can keep track of it. And it's really nice because I have a menu over here now where I can just look at it. Where is it? It's right here. I think this is it. Yep, right here. See? So I can just do this now. I know Microsoft Word has this too, but I never looked at it like I have now. So you can still use Microsoft and do this in Microsoft. You'd have to check it out. But I really like the way this works here, because a lot of times I'll be making a document in PDF. I knew how to do it, but I never knew how to do it in Word. I admit it. I do like doing it now. And so you can look at different things over here. This basically is a sidebar and your navigator bar. I think that's what they call it. You can move it around. I like it right where it's at. And, oh, I messed it up. Come on, go back. Go back. There's some way to put it back. And the reason I like it is because I can expand it. How did I get that in there? Oh, there we go. The reason I like it is because I can hide it and I can expand it. It's really nice. And then you also have your features here. It's telling you your page down at the bottom. Default page style, English. You can go into different modes of your views, which is nice, and different sizes. But when I do my size, I press down Control. Can you see this? I don't know if you can. I press down my Control key and I use my mouse scroll button, and that's how I do my sizes. So there's a lot more involved, but I just want to move on now to the spreadsheet calc program. All right, so I'm out of the writer, and I'm going to go into spreadsheet calc. Now I showed you how to do it this way, right? You can open up that way, but also too, if you have a file, all you got to do is double click and it'll open. You can also click on that file and open with, and if you have Microsoft, it'll say open with Libre or Microsoft. If you made it in a text file, it's going to give you that option of a text file as well. So, but I just have the Libre Calc on here. So it's going to open that up. And now this one uses a lot of storage. It needs a lot of storage. Calculate the spreadsheets, because they're not just a flat file. There's many files here. So in other words, in the writer, that canvas, that was just one canvas, and it goes down, down, down as much as you want. But this is basically spreadsheets that are, you can make many of them. So I have just 2 made here. Right down here is where you make them, and these are usually called tabs. And a tab is basically a link to the spreadsheet that you're working on. See? One or the other. Now, I also went and I put my ribbon on here. Now, to remove my ribbon, if I just didn't want the ribbon, I can do it a couple ways. I can go View, User Interface, and I can go here. And I also suggest that you look at these two. You can make a compact tab, ribbon. You can do all kinds of things here. Test it out and see which one you like the best. So you can do it at the view. And to do that, but to see this menu, you have to have this opened. Okay? And if you don't have that opened, go over here to the 3 lines. Somebody called this a hamburger. I'm trying to think of who called that. Somebody calls this a hamburger. It's just, I don't know what it's called. Settings. Options. Go into here. See, here's options too. You go into the user interface this way as well. Now, while we're here, let's take a look at the options. This is what's confusing, because I'm in Calc, but I see for other things. So I see for Calc and I see for base, and I don't know why I don't see for writer, but sometimes when I'm in the writer, I see for all of them. So you can set, it's global. When you create databases, you can create code that's global over the database, or you can create for just a particular form or forms or code, whatever. For like if you have a, you're calling an action, you can do that. But here it's kind of the same. So what it's saying is you can set your options overall globally for all your Office suites. And it's weird, again, I don't see writer on here. Or you can go right into the specific one and set information. So I suggest that you go in here and take a look at what they're doing. Now with Calc, one of the reasons you really need to look into here is because their settings for formulas right here. I found it's not an issue. I'm just not used to it. In one of them, I think my other computer has these as the semicolon. So when I'm writing formulas, sometimes I'm going to have to use a semicolon instead of a comma. And I'm learning all about that because I've always put a comma in my formulas where needed in Microsoft Excel. So this is one of the things you're going to have to figure out, and I would definitely get into the Calc and figure that out. Now there's other things too. You can go and you can look in here because like I don't like it automatically capping my sentences or my words. Some of them I want them to be lowercase. So this is going to tell you different things. I wouldn't monkey with the paths, I mean, unless you want to, but I wouldn't screw with that. I don't. Fonts, you can change your font, and it's just very, very specific and detailed. It's slightly, like I said, it's slightly different than Microsoft Office. Usually in Office you have File, Options, and then you go into the specific programs, Options, and you can set certain things. And this seems to be where you go in here and you can set overall or for specific programs. That's what I'm trying to say here. So, but also too, just when you get into that formula, when we start to do formulas, it's like, okay, what the heck is going on? And see here, Excel 2000, recalculation on file load. Okay. Optimal row height, always, all these things, you should really go through every single one of them eventually when you have time. And again, when do you have time, right? You have to make time. Just go through a couple every time you open it up. Just see if you can look through and make sure you're seeing it. Now, one thing I'm going to talk about here is, first of all, we talked about the tabs. And these are spreadsheets. So a spreadsheet is basically, and I'm going to press my control, and I'm just going to make this bigger. These are cells. Cells have columns and rows. And back in the day, we actually identified this, I think it was RC, or maybe it was CR. Now we have a completely different, especially when you're using tables, you can do different things. But we actually had it was a little bit different. It was more cumbersome. And now you can really do so much when it comes to calculation. And usually, to be honest, I don't do real difficult calculation. I mean, some of them are like, you look at it and go, holy cats. But it's basically, calculations are basically formats, formulations. And formulations are built upon the equal sign. Something has to equal the other thing. That's really what it is. And an equal sign, if you ever looked at an equal sign, oops, let's get that out. I'm going to put, by the way, look at what I'm doing here. I'm putting a dash, an apostrophe right here. What I'm doing is I'm going to force this cell to stay a text. So when I do that and I press equals, it's going to stay a text as equals. If I didn't do that, it's going to think I'm trying to type a formula. It's like, what's going on? And maybe it'll do that, but if I go 8, but did you notice before I went like this and then I went like this? See what happened? It's thinking, oh, she's making a formula. So, but anyway, equal signs here. Let's make this bigger. An equal sign, somebody said this the other day, and this is really cool. This side, if you put an arrow, you can do it either way. An arrow here and an arrow here. They have to balance. It's that simple. And I have a really great story about that, but I'm not going to share it today. And what you really just need to understand is it's got to balance. So if I go 2 and 3, and I go here, equals sum, and usually you put a sum. You don't have to usually put a sum if it's a really simple formula like this. You could say equals, I'll show you. You can go equals this plus this. But when you start to make, especially when you're using more than 2 cells, at least in my opinion, and again, I'm not an expert at this, but whenever I make a formula, I use equal sum, especially addition, multiplication, subtraction, whatnot. And there is a syntax, and the syntax is right here. And I know it's hard to see because I can't pan it any more than I am right now. But there's the formula right there, equal sum A3. And actually, it automatically put in a colon because I panned down. If I went up in there and I went a plus instead of that colon, it's going to give me the same answer. But it's basically giving me this semicolon, I should say, sorry, not a colon, is because it's looking at it as a range. So when I type something like this, that's a range. And I can take and I can sum that up, divide it, multiply, whatever I want to do. And so spreadsheets are great because you can do so much more in a spreadsheet. And actually in Writer, you can, and in Word, you can insert a table, which I do a lot. So, but these are really great because you can, what I do is I did my journal in here, and that's where we're focusing. We're starting to focus on that more and more. And it's about learning as you go. I'm going to take and I'm going to block this. And the way I do that is I put my mouse on here, click left, hold the shift key, and click down to 6. Now I can right click my mouse and I can delete. Delete, merge, do whatever I want. So this is my right menu from my click button. And I always use my mouse. I can't stand not doing that. So I can delete all that information. Right? And then up here, what I suggest too is you go through all these menu items, go through your quick menu, and then go through your navigation over here. It's basically about the same thing. This one, and I'm not sure if Writer has it, but this one also has your creating your border. And I'll talk about the border in another video because I was having a hard time. I was trying to figure out how to make, it's so easy in Microsoft Excel to make a border, just have this lined and have a red box around it. In here, it's a little bit more complicated, and mostly because I just don't know it. It's like I'm learning a new language that's very similar to the language I have, but there's differences. So anyway, point is it's a really great program, and it's a great program to do your journaling. So I just want to show you. It took me it took me years to do mine, and I'm still doing it sometimes, especially my older years. I concentrated on my, started at my birth up till the time I was 18. And you hone in on what you remember and what's most important to get out there. And so I'm going to go down a little bit here. I've got my cells here. Now you can, if you block them, you can take and you can go into, where the heck is it? Right here. You can just go like this. And that way it's kind of a makeshift table. It's really a spreadsheet. It's not really a table until you call it into a table. And I don't like to make tables, to be honest with you, because when I create a formula, then it references the table and the column, and it's a pain in the butt to me. Personally, and I sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. Depends. And if the bigger the table, of course, then. But my tables usually aren't that big. But the nice thing about Excel is you can handle this in Libre Calc is that you can handle this in many ways. You could put each year as a tab of your life, or you can just run it down. I'm panning down the spreadsheet right now and going up. You can have, I looked this up. I asked how many rows in LibreOffice, and it's actually one word, Calc. Over 1 million. Okay. So you got plenty of room to put this in. Okay. And so what I did was I put the date up here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to first of all highlight this whole thing by clicking right here. And I'm going to make right here I'm going to put everything even so the words stay even in the cell. I can move these to the side or the middle or the front, and I'm going to, the right. I'm going to click this to put them where I want, because I like them in the middle. I like them in the middle, but the journaling I want to keep to the left. But the header, which is what this is called, I want to keep these in the center. Now here I want to highlight my header, so I'm clicking on date up to this, which is my birth date, and I'm just going to come up here, and I'm just going to make it you can make it whatever color you want. Actually, I don't want it gray. I think I'll make it light purple. There we go. Okay. And now you can see I'm panning up and down, but my header's staying the same. And the way I do that is by clicking on the second row and going to View, Freeze Rows and Columns. You can also go over here to View, Freeze Rows and Columns. There's like 3 different ways of getting here. There's probably a way over here too, but these are the main ways you can do it. So now I've got it where it's going up and down. Now I could make it, if this was a real long spreadsheet with lots of columns, lots of fields. These are the fields, these are the records. I could actually go right here and I could freeze the pane there so that this would stay and this part would move. And I do that a lot. So, but I don't need to do that in this one. I'm going to be staying, not very big right now. All right, so getting into it, this is the final thing I want to say about this is where I would journal. And like I said, I have my journals. You can create more tabs by clicking the plus sign. And then you can right click on the tab. You can rename the tab. You can make it color. You can, there's so many things you can do. You can insert another sheet from here, delete the sheet from here, rename the sheet, duplicate, and when you move or copy, make sure you click that move or copy selection, because otherwise if you move it and you haven't pressed copy, it's going to move it and not make a copy. You can protect it, which that's a whole nother conversation, and that's more or less so that no one else can monkey with your formulas and whatnot. But you can do all kinds of things here, but basically, I mean, this is just a basic, how can you start a journal? And this is basically from my Dynamics of Abuse, the very first video. I talk at the library and I tell people how to create this journal. So the first column will be the date, and you want to put your very first, your birth date here, and also over here. So I've got A, B, C, D, and E, right? That's what I've got here. Do the same thing I've done, and invent time. You can reinvent it if you want to, but just start this way. Put your date of birth here. This, you want to make this column, you want to highlight. And what I usually do is I usually highlight, any column that I have a formula in, I highlight that column into a color. It's usually gray. And that way I know there's a formula in there. It's going to do it automatically. And so I'm going to show you that formula in a second. But then from there, you put your journaling. You put journal. You could even write experience, whatever you want. We'll put experience. So I can type right into the cell experience, or I can go and click the cell and go up here in my formula bar and write experience. Okay. And if you notice, wherever I'm at over here in my name box, it's telling me the cell, the column, and the row. So if I go over here, I'm in D5. Go over here, I'm in A4. All right. So I type was born. Okay. I would put detail. I was born, my parents' names, and whatnot. That's what I would put. And then I would put, how do I see this now? And put your date of birth here. And you don't actually need any of this border. Just put your date of birth there. This is the easiest way to make this formula. And it's an E1. See that? So when I put a date down, I want to know exactly how old I was. Now, I could just do years. That's true. That's fine. And I'll show you how to do years. But I wanted to know, especially when you're a baby, you want to know 3 months, 10 years, 0 years, 3 months, 10 days. So, and actually this is picking up on, The wrong one. So good. I'm glad. So I'm going to bring it into this first cell. And I'm going to copy this. Control C. Enter. Get out of it. And I'm going to come down here anywhere. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put a apostrophe. This is the easiest way to do this. Trust me. Is to take your formula and bring it out and put an apostrophe, because otherwise the formula is going to automatically want to create a formula. So date diff, I don't know if you can see this. Let's go up a little bit bigger. Oh, it's too big. There. Yeah, a little bit too big. Still too big. Let me just go like this. You're like, knock it off. Oops. I'm not used to using a mouse on a really shiny surface. Control C to copy, Control V to paste, and then delete this one out. There we go. All right, so date difference E1, which that's this, to A2. Now, if you notice what's happening here is this is called an absolute. I want it to float. This is an absolute reference or fixed reference. It's fixated on this cell, which I want it to stay, but I want this cell to change as I write in my data. So this is B2, right? So why I have it as A2, oh, sorry, A2. I have it A2, but I don't want it to stay there. I want it to float. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out the dollar signs. Now, in Microsoft Excel, you used to be able to press F4 to do that. And I'm going to try it, but not right now. We'll try that in another video because I want to get done. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here. I'm just copying and pasting this new formula in here. Control C. Now I'm going to hold my shift key, and I'm actually now pressing down on my page, my down arrow. So I can do it with my mouse or I can do it with my down arrow. And now Control V. It's going to say you're pasting data into cells that already contain. Warn me about this in the future? No. All right, and it's going to have an error because I don't have anything in there. And we'll talk about that in another day. It's basically, I can make is blank, then don't bring me nothing. Or I can say if this is blank. I can do an error if there's an error. But right now, I don't really care. I'm more concerned about making sure I'm getting the data in. And what's important here to note is the real great thing about this when journaling is, say you remember something, and you don't have to keep this in time. In other words, you remembered something when you were 15 and you start typing it here. All you have to remember is what was the year of when you were 15. So for me, it was 77. So let's just say April 1, 1977. See what happened? And the nice thing about this is that I can take, now say right here, I start, let's just delete this one. Oops. I literally screwed that up. Okay, there. I'm going to save it. And the other thing is I can save it as ODF spreadsheet. I can save it as an Excel, or I can save it as a text CSV. If you are really on the fence about what you're going to use, I would actually recommend to save it as a CSV. Right now I'm saving it as an ODF. And honestly, what you could do is you could just try, just save it as any platform that you have, all these platforms, and see how you feel, except for DBase, of course. And DBase that's a whole nother conversation. HTML, that's a conversation too. Text and Excel. And Excel, just save it as one kind. But the thing is if you don't have Excel on here, you're not going to be able to open it up with Excel, but you will be able to open it up with LibreOffice. So I'm just saving it as the ODF extension. All right. And you should also make a backup of this, by the way. So nice thing about this is say, oh my gosh, say that I remembered something happened when I was 10. So now I can go 4/10/1960, or sorry, 4/10/19 72, right? Now I'm younger than 14, so all I have to do is take this, click on the column by just clicking right here with my left mouse, right click. Now here's the hard part, and for some reason I still don't know how to do this in Libre. But first of all, just put a column up here. Right click on the column you want and go insert rows above or below. And then what I do here is I go Control X, go up here, Control V. And now I've got it right there. Delete this row. And now I can just continue on, and I can have it in the order that it has happened. And that is what is so great about spreadsheets, because you don't have to have it in order. You can just put it as you remember it. Now, what you want to do, my opinion, and I'm not a doctor, but my opinion is write it down. And sometimes it's going to be very difficult to write it down. I would write it down and I would just wait for a while. And then I'd come back to it. And I try to write as much as I possibly can. Make it as long as you need it, okay? And then eventually what you can do is you can condense it down a little bit more, a little bit more. It's totally up to you if you don't want to do that. But then eventually you're going to ask yourself, well, how do I see this now? That's that thumb in the wiggling of the thumb process. How do I see this now as an adult? So let's put, how do I see this now as, and I just press cap locks, as an adult. How do I see this now? All right, I can literally make this bigger, shorter. I just grab it with my left mouse cursor. I can make these rows bigger or shorter. I can click right here and bring this down, bring it up so they're all the same, or I can click on the line and it's going to make it the size of whatever's in there. Personally, it doesn't matter. Sometimes you're going to be writing tons of stuff and sometimes you're not. Now, the last thing I would do if I were you is I would make a sheet, just rename the sheet to code. And I would take your code that you used right here, highlight it in the formula bar, Control C, enter, make sure you enter, come over here and write, age, month, years. Move this over. See what I'm doing? This is called on the fly. And here I'm just going to put that apostrophe, and I'm going to do that. Watch what I'm doing here. I'm just pulling this, and I'm going to pull this. I'm going to insert a row above. I'm going to put title, description of code. If I wanted to, I could actually even write description for one of the fields. These are fields and these are records. So I can, oops, sorry. I'm on a slippery surface. So I'm going to make this longer and I'm going to move this like this. Let's make it green. That's pretty. View, where is that? Freeze columns. Now I've got that. Now if I didn't want this as long, I could go like that. I can also go in here and make this even so the text is even. But here I can even make it where it goes up. And then I can take and I can, where the heck is it? This is where I'm just going to wrap it. And I'm trying to see where it is. See it, it's completely different on Calc. Hold on. Okay, and I'm just going to tell you, I'm going to admit, I don't know where it is on here because in Excel it's usually right around here. So I'm going to go out on the internet. Libre. Sorry, I'm not used to this computer. Office, Calc, Wrap. It's called Wrap. Okay, so it's going to tell me format, cells, alignment, wrap. Okay, so format. I don't see. Oh, there we go. All right, and then alignment, wrap. I would think there's a hotkey. So let's look and see. What happened is it pulled it over into one cell. So when I make it smaller, it does that. Now, if I wanted to have a paragraph in here, I can open up my formula bar a little bit more. You can open it using this too. And here what I can do is I can press Control, Alt, and Enter. For Microsoft Excel, it's just, I think it's Alt and Enter. But here I can do that, and I can come down a couple, and then I can type some more. So then I'm making a paragraph. So I'm staying on topic and keeping it in that one cell. If it gets to be too much, I would just put continue or TBC and then continue on the next cell, but make sure you just put the same date on the following record so that you know it's the same. And that's what I would do. And then, let's see, let's go down here. All right, so now I've got that. I'm going to put that back up. All right, so age, month, years. I can do that. Well, actually, let me take that off. All right, I'm going to backspace. All right, come out of there. Now what I can do is double click. And then I can add, you know, something here. Description. And this is just like, this is like very basic creating a spreadsheet. This is called on the fly. And so the nice thing about it too, one of the wonderful things about computers is you do things on the fly, and sometimes you do things that are planned. And another nice thing is you can go out on the internet and ask, well, how do I do this in LibreCalc, or even no matter what program you're in, how do I do this? And most of the time you're going to get an answer for how do you do this. But today in this video, what I wanted to do was just show you a little bit of the concepts of Computer 101, especially in Windows 10, and then how to create this journal, because I think this is really important. A lot of people don't know how to do this. They've never done it before, and it can be overwhelming, especially when you've got all these thoughts coming to your head. And what this does is it literally creates this timeline for you. And so again, you can put it in different tabs for years. I would not recommend that. I would keep it all going in one continuous thing, especially your first 18 years. And then, so you could have childhood and then adult, and then you separate it. But even then, eventually, once you get this written out, and you need to decompress, especially if you are just, if you have just remembered, you know, your repressed memories of some type of traumatic episode or something that happened, or you have something that's in your head that you just can't get out of your head. This is a great way to get it out of your head. This is called objectivity. It's part of the SOAP process, the subjective, objective, assessment, and plan, kind of like that in a way. And also part of the wiggling the thumb. So you're taking that subjective information that's in your head and you're putting it out here on paper. And you're just writing. So you're still subjective, but this is basically subjective focused mindset, which I talk about as well. And then here, this is the objectivity of it. You're going to read through it again, and you're going to look at it, and you're going to really ask yourself the questions, well, how do I see this now as an adult? Maybe something has changed. Maybe as a child you saw it one way, but as an adult you see it the other way. And this is the start of a wonderful journal that you can set up. You can save it onto, I would definitely save it onto some type of flash drive or an external drive, a DVD, something like that. I would save it on there. So that's it for this video. It's a long video, but I think it really is going to help you start your journaling process. And with that, please make sure you like, subscribe, and share my videos. I really like that. Thank you so much for doing that if you do, because it does support me. But most importantly, make sure you please stay safe and stay healthy. And I hope to see you again back here next time in Lisa's chat room.